Welcome back to another episode of Tuxedo Time, podcast edition.
I'm loving the vibe in here right now.
It's a nice vibe, isn't it?
It is a nice vibe. It's like we're
colored lights.
Let me paint the picture.
Okay.
We're in the office. If you haven't seen it, I'll link it in the show notes. The walls are white. The ceiling is black. The furniture is white and black. Classic. But we have Philips Hue lights on.
And all of the lights.
All of the lights. And we have it on like a sunset mode. So it's like pink and peach and like dim. And
Not
it's
sponsored.
Like, not sponsored. Yeah. It's like nighttime and it's like real cozy in here right now.
Please sponsor us because I'm going to put Hue lights in all of our lights.
I know, same. And it's going to cost $1 million. Well, I'm excited to build the studio or finish building the studio in the basement. I don't know if it'll be done by the time this podcast goes up, but outfitting the whole space with like Philips Hue lights so that we can have like mad vibes when we're recording shit.
Yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be great.
It's going to be great. So the format of today's episode is what's wrong?
Nothing.
Why are you doing the shifty eyes?
Oh, I wasn't sure what we were supposed to say.
You're like, nobody can see me, but my eyes are darting all over the place like an awkward person. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different than the last couple. I know we've only done like a few episodes so far, so like still trying to get like the vibe and the format down. But this one is going to be a little bit different because we had a question in the DMs. It's an anonymous question that we thought would be interesting to feature on this podcast and discuss because I think it's kind of like an important topic that people probably struggle with. I know I definitely struggle with this.
What is the topic?
Okay, so I'm going to read you the question.
Suspense is killing me.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm going to read you the question, okay?
Okay.
So the question is,
Yep.
how do you keep your focus while studying and being a creative? I'm currently getting my environmental engineering degree, but every single minute I'm thinking about something else or writing a script or something else in the creative field. I love what I'm studying, but I can't keep focus at all. That is a damn struggle, man.
So my first impression on that is, do you really love what you're studying? Because outside of a diagnosable attention issue, not a psychiatrist.
Interventional right now.
If you're having trouble studying and doing something, then and all you can think about is writing scripts and other things, maybe you should be doing something in the creative field for a living. That's just my honest opinion.
Yeah.
Again, without knowing anything other than that one question. But I mean, I get it. You've got multiple areas of interest, and I've often struggled with that. Early on when I was going through school, like school is not fun for the most part. Some people who are weird like you thought school was good.
But I went to art school. I didn't go to like normal academic, like I went to a trades college. So it was fun for me because we were playing with computers and design all day.
Yeah. And so for me, who, I did out of the 14 years of university that I have under my belt, probably only the last 5 were relevant to my career. Everything else was building blocks for medical school. And then it was building blocks to get into radiology, and it was building blocks to do actual diagnostic radiology and interventional radiology. And a lot of it wasn't even relevant. So I get it. You're slogging away doing stuff that really is just a filter to filter out who can get through a program and who can't. And unfortunately, that's what a lot of school, I think, is.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a bit of a broken system, but I don't have a suggestion as to how to improve it. Nonetheless, you just have to buckle down, And I was lucky enough to be, I guess, born or learned a work ethic that has done me well and been able to get me to where I want to be. But it's tough, and sometimes you just have to kind of slog through it. You've got an interesting technique.
Well, I feel like first you need to figure out, is that really what you want to do? Or are you doing it because somebody else wants you to do it, first of all? Because I remember reading you that question the first time I saw it, and you said, that sounds like environmental engineering is a hobby, right? It's something that you're interested in, you like, but don't necessarily want to make a career out of it. And I think that for you, and I'll talk about my story about college and interest, because I was in a similar situation and actually made the switch. But I feel like for you, your eye was always on the prize of being a doctor, but you always had art hobbies on the side. And while you loved those art hobbies, your goal was to be a doctor. Whereas for me, I was going to school to try to be a physiotherapist because that's what I was kind of told I should do or suggested that I should do.
Yeah, and then nurse.
Yeah, well, all of those were, career options,
Oh my God, I can't even picture you doing any of those things.
Same. But what happened to me was that I was in university in a math class, not paying attention, with my camera in my backpack, looking at my watch, counting down the time to be out of the class so I could go taking pictures. And guess what? I failed that course because I didn't give a shit.
Surprise, surprise.
And for me, it was like, okay, well, maybe I like the idea of physiotherapy, but maybe I'm not meant to do that. And so
I don't even think you like the idea of it.
no, I don't think so. I think I like the idea of having a stable career.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, well, these are the options that have been presented in front of me. This is probably choosing the most desirable out of those options. And that's what you just defaulted to.
Yeah. So anyway, I decided, fuck this. I'm going to design school. Well, actually, I wanted to go to photography school, but it was too expensive.
Please stop burping into the podcast, Mike.
I got to drop pip size. Got the burp size.
Slovenly beast.
Okay, but anyway. So I was in university and I decided, shag this. I'm going to go to art school because I can't sit here and not pay attention and fail and kind of ruin my GPA because I want to go shooting photos. So I said, I'm not going back to school. I'm going to shoot photos for the next 6 months. I'm going to apply for graphic design. And that's what I did.
And so interestingly enough, you know, I've always had little projects on the side. I've always had hobbies, video and photography being some of them. And I guess an interesting thing too is that not many people might know that I was the photo editor of the Memorial University newspaper in my last year of undergrad. So that I found was a cool extracurricular activity that I could do. It allowed me to really shoot photos and not just shoot photos of what I wanted to shoot, but shoot photos of stuff I had to cover for the newspaper and really kind of get you outside your box and comfort zone. So that was a good experience there. Just see that side of things, like photojournalism as a side of photography. And at the same time, it allowed me to bolster my medical school application, because that's kind of a unique volunteer type position. I think I got paid a nominal salary to do it, but it was more like essentially a stipend.
Right.
You know, the gear I was using was all my own gear, and it was way more expensive than what they were giving me for that job. But for all intents and purposes, it was a way that I could exercise my creative outlet, but also use it as a way to get towards my goal of going to medical school.
That's really interesting. Yeah. It's kind of,
that.
yeah, I forgot about that too. It's kind of like fostering your creative side and acting on it versus thinking about it a lot. Because I think what can happen sometimes is like, if you don't have a job or like a freelance job or like a position at the newspaper, you think a lot about shooting photos, but then you don't really get the opportunity to go and do it. And so it kind of builds up inside of you and you're like, I want to go shoot. I want to go shoot. I want to go shoot. Versus being like, okay, tonight after school, I got to get the school done because I have to go to the newspaper. I got to shoot this event, and then it's got to be turned around and done by Wednesday. And so by doing that, you kind of exercise the passion and kind of almost like get it out of your system a little bit.
Yeah.
You know? And then once you do it, and I find this too, like when I'm working, if I have an idea, sometimes like if I have an idea and I can't think about anything else besides that idea, and I just have to sit down and do the idea. And once the idea is out of my brain and like onto the computer, then I can concentrate on the things that I have to do.
Yeah, and the issue is if you do that and quote unquote get it out of your system, but then you just can't still focus on the task at hand of sitting down and studying for environmental engineering, was that what it was?
Yeah.
Then, sorry to say, but I think that may be the wrong career choice if you can't buckle down and even just do it.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. I mean, the thing is though, is that if it is the wrong career choice and you want to be writing scripts and shooting and being creative, like it's a grind in a different type of way.
So, you know, in one of our previous episodes, we talked about that, exactly that topic of traditional versus non-traditional career options. And, you know, to make that decision, you've just got to be okay with turning your passion and your hobby and passion into a job, because it will change it.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's definitely pros and cons to that. I mean, it definitely changed it for me because like I said, I was shooting photos as a hobby and trying to go to school. And then I decided to go to school for design. And then in turn, photography came along with that. And then that turned into a job. And it definitely changed it. I mean, we made a whole video about this, but we'll touch on it here again. You get to the point where you're doing all of these jobs for clients and it becomes stressful, and the realities of running a business and shooting and trying to push the creative side of your brain all the time, it kind of wears on you, and then you just don't want to touch your camera. So, you know, we go on vacation, and while in a perfect world and now I would take my camera and document it, I wouldn't even bring it. And I don't even document our trips through photography the way I used to do it when I was just shooting for fun. So it definitely changes it. It changes, like, for me, I looked at my camera originally as like this fun tool where I was going to document all of the things. And then when it was a job, it was a stressor. When I left my office at 5:00, I left my camera in there and I never shot a photo for fun. And it definitely changed my dynamic. Now it's a bit different because it's been so long and we're, lucky enough to be able to make our YouTube channel and document our life but it's different.
Yeah, it's definitely different. Oh, back to doing things, sort of getting it out of your system. I used to do these most elaborate videos for some projects. Do you remember that biochemistry project I did?
Oh my God, yes. You used a lot of your skills in photography and video to integrate like into projects you did for, like biochemistry for med school. There was a lot of times where you were able to bring those skills into your
field.
So
trying to do that might also be a solution. Again, I don't know anything about environmental engineering.
Do you remember when you made like, what was it, like Snakes on a Boat?
Snakes on a Boat, yeah.
You made like a full film
with muzzle bursts and muzzle flashes from the guns and everything.
It was so bad, but so good.
The overlaid blood effects from the snakes exploding. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, it's fantastic. Oh my God, we used to do so much shit. You used to make some elaborate fucking shit. What was it like? Didn't you make this huge like med school video that like integrated into this dance for one of your...
Well, I think that actually started a trend because up to that point, the incoming medical school boys would do a dance at the annual fundraiser. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, let's do a video and then it'll segue into the dance. And I think that's like the standard now.
Yeah.
They have to make a video and do a dance.
That's so funny.
I wonder if they still do that. If anybody goes to Memorial Medical School.
Yeah, let us know.
Let us know.
But you use that concept with that biochemistry, with your Snakes on a Boat video, because wasn't it like at the end of the video you guys like came in, like you were running through, like the end of the video was like you guys running through the hallway and then the video stopped and you guys busted in through the doors and then you did your presentation.
And we were in the same clothes.
You were in the same clothes,
right.
Yeah. So it was kind of taking your creative mindset and your concepts and then like molding them into a way that really made you stand out in a different way in biochemistry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think back then, I think video and photo now is just so ubiquitous. It's very common.
Yeah.
But back then, I think it was a little bit less common.
Definitely.
All right. I think we've answered that question.
Yeah, I think so too. It's really interesting because I do think it's like something people struggle with too, because like you get, there's almost like a pressure. Like I had to do this one thing.
Yeah, and it's tough too because I think even nowadays we come from a generation where before smartphones were always available. Mm-hmm. And my work ethic has kind of already been solidified more or less.
Right.
But I feel bad now because kids are growing up with, information being thrown at them at a mile a minute. And I do think it's probably had to the detriment of their attention spans.
Absolutely. I even find that I can't focus the way I used to be able to focus. Like I have a specific way now that I have to work and I'll talk about it after the break. But like even watching movies, like I have a very difficult time sitting through a 2-hour movie in the theater and just sitting there watching it.
I don't, but
well, yeah. But I think too, like I feel like I'm constantly stimulated by all of the things, social media and editing and stuff. Whereas like when you go to work, you don't have your phone or like screens on really. Like you do a little bit, but I
I'm
guess
stand up in a case and my phone is under like 3
layers of
various things.
Right.
So it's,
you're focused on the task at hand. You're using a different side of your brain.
I'm literally focused on treating patients. So it's not something that is even relevant, but I get it. It's like you're sitting here and it's easy to become distracted.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of people probably have that issue.
Definitely. All right. We're going to take a quick break. After the break, I do want to talk about like how do you stay focused when you're working from home and then Instagram is going off and your text messages are going off and email and shit because it's very distracting. So I'm going to talk about how we can like deal with that.
All right.
Cool. All right. Be right back. We answered the first question, which was like a deep question. It's kind of like, oh my God, what should I do with my life?
What should I do with
my life? What should I do with my life? The second question is, how do you stay focused while editing? And what shoes do you wear to stay comfortable?
I think you have a lot of editors that follow you. This Twitter that you...
This is Instagram.
This is
Instagram. I
Instagram.
posted a big thing on Instagram that said, like, what do you want to hear about on the podcast? And so I got like a bunch of things, and this is one of them. But guys, if you're listening, like, if you want to hear anything specific or you have questions for us, let us know on Twitter at Becki and Chris. Just say, hey guys, like, you love the podcast, 5 stars. And this is what I want you to talk about, or here's my question for the podcast. So just let us know if you want to hear anything. If you DM us on Instagram, we probably won't see it. So just tweet us on Twitter. Okay, so to answer the question, I'm going to answer the easy part first. What shoes do you wear to stay comfortable? Well, obviously, I'm wearing mugler-ups.
I know what shoes you wear.
Mugler-ups. Everyone asks me, what are those slippers? Not everybody, like a select people. But people always ask, like, what are those slippers?
They're very nice for flying helicopters in, too.
Oh, God, they're nice for everything. Road trips.
I wore them for basically for all the long flights in Cold Island.
Yes.
If you haven't seen that, check out our YouTube channel. We basically flew the helicopter
from Buffalo
to Newfoundland. Very long trip, and we made a big whole docu-series out of it. Anyway.
Yeah. So when we went on that trip, one of the most important items besides cameras and underwear was slippers. Because so here's the thing. It was 40 hours of flying round trip, right? Mm-hmm. So you're sitting in this like confined helicopter. You can't really move anyway. And then you put constrictive boots on your feet. It's like,
you could have taken off your shoes.
I mean, you could have, but Glurps are so much better. So I have these, they're wool slippers. Mine are light gray and they have a rubber bottom. And so I bought the rubber bottom ones specifically for the helicopter. So I could like get out of the helicopter, fuel up, use the bathroom, and just like wipe them down with like a wipe or water or whatever. Or like run out onto the patio.
They're a bit more rugged than the leather bottoms.
They're more rugged than leather. Yeah. So you have the leather bottoms. I also have another pair of leather bottoms.
So interesting enough, Glurps, I think they're affiliated with
Blundstone. I think.
Yeah. And back when we were like these micro bloggers with a very small Instagram following, they actually like reached out and wanted to send us some footwear. Mm-hmm. And we're like, oh yeah, sure, cool, free stuff, back in Vancouver.
Yeah.
And we've just been wearing them ever since. This was before our channel was anything really.
Well, actually, I think I reached out to them because I was like, I want these slippers, but they're kind of expensive. Like I didn't want to buy them because we were very poor.
We were strapped for cash.
Really strapped for cash.
Crawling into debt.
And they're not cheap slippers, but I can tell you right now, they're definitely worth $130.
Yeah, and you bought them. Since then, you've actually bought your own pair because you wanted the ones with the rubber bottoms.
Right, and now I want a pair of like slip-on ones just for traveling.
Yeah, there you go.
But anyway, so I digress. Slippers are Glurps. They're the best. I wear them every single day. But the first part of the question was, how do you stay focused while editing? So I had this really big problem where my computer is old.
2013.
So what happens to me is like I'll be editing and I'm pumped and I'm excited, and then I start importing footage, and then suddenly I get a pizza ball or something crashes, or like I have to wait for my CPU to
Did you know that nobody else uses that term pizza ball?
I know. People were like, "What's a pizza ball?"
I'm pretty sure I think it's spinning beach ball of death.
Yeah. So I get the spinning pizza ball of death.
And I don't know why. I don't know how pizza got interjected into it.
Because pizza's life.
Sure. Okay.
Oh wait, this is not Wynn's food. Okay. I love pizza. Oh, pizza.
Okay. So
anyway, what we're talking about? Pizza.
You're talking about you have this old computer.
Oh yeah. So I have this old computer. So I have this problem where I can't, like, if my CPUs are at full fucking blast, I can't play back my footage, or like audio doesn't work or whatever. So I have to like wait for them to calm down, or a number of other issues that come with having an old ass computer. Ass computer. Idiot. Anyway, so what happens to me is I'm waiting. So, okay, I pick up my phone, I check Instagram. 10 minutes later, my computer's fine.
It literally takes like 15 seconds for your CPUs to catch up.
And so I get distracted. So I'll check Instagram, check Twitter, and then suddenly I'm down a rabbit hole of social media. And this happens multiple times, and I pick up my phone every time and I get distracted. So I'm not doing like a full productive. I'm not doing a full productive day of work because my computer's slow and I'm an idiot. So I just pick up my phone and I get distracted. So Johnny Harris, I asked him, I was like, how he stops working at like 5:00. He has a very specific schedule. Both him and Iz have a very specific schedule because they have kids and they've made like the commitment to leave their office. So I've talked to them about this.
Iz and Johnny are some buddies of ours. They also do YouTube. They have their own separate channels. Check out some of their links in the show notes below.
Nice. Yes, they also have a new business called Bright Trip. Dope.
Oh yeah.
Not sponsored. Link in the show notes.
Yeah, it's basically classes on
traveling.
How to travel.
So dope. And the branding is so good. Like turquoise and orange, and it's like illustrations mixed with photography. It's just really good.
They've done a really good job.
Yeah. They did a really good job. So anyway, so I was talking to them about like, how do you get the work done in that short period of time? Because they have kids, so they have a very strict like schedule. They leave the office at like 4. And so basically what they said was like, they will set a timer where for like an hour or 2 hours, and they work in these like incremental time periods where during that time they don't touch their phone, everything is turned off. So I've started doing this. I've started setting a timer for like an hour, hour and a half. to build myself up to like 2 hours. So I set the timer, I turn my phone over and I put it away and I just edit. And if I have to wait for my CPU to like chill, or if like there's a pizza ball, I just wait. I don't check Instagram. I don't go on the internet. I don't do anything. I just wait for it. And it has actually, I've only been doing it for like 3 weeks on and off, depending on what my day looks like. And I did it a couple of days ago when I was editing a video, and I got the video done in like way less time than I would normally get it done.
Like 4 hours.
4 hours. It changed everything for me.
Sounds like you need a PC.
Go fuck yourself. Oh my God, crusty. So anyway, that mixed with I started storyboarding my videos was like a massive help. So this timer technique, I'm definitely gonna like integrate that into my workflow for now on. Sometimes the things don't take like that long. Like if I'm working on a design, it's easy. And that's the funny thing. If I'm working on a design project, I never get distracted. I'm full the fuck on. It could be like 5 hours. I'm like, fuck, it's like 6 o'clock at night. But for whatever reason with video, I think it's because like you wait for a render, you wait for this, you wait for an import, whereas like design, it's not like hard on the computer. There's like moments where you're just like complacent and then no attention span, so you have to like do something, so you check Instagram. So the timer technique,
game changer for you.
Game changer. I also do find too, like in the night before, I'll like write a list, especially on Sundays, of like the things that I have to do this week. So like what video I have to do, or what video I'm going to film, and what tasks I need to do. And then I'll say, okay, tomorrow, the night before, I know like the next day in the morning, I'm going to do like this video. In the afternoon, I'm going to like schedule this for Pixel and Lens. So I kind of have that in my phone. So I know like I have to get this video done before I can move on to my next task. So the timer thing helps.
We're still getting used to this podcast thing.
We're still using, our rigs aren't as shitty as they were before. We have proper pop screens now.
Yeah.
We're still using the Rode Video Micro and the Rode Video Mic Pro Plus.
We're using video mics, like
with like the Zoom recorder.
Consumer video mics.
Listen, if this doesn't sound perfect, we're still working on it. Like I said, we're just...
Yeah. Also, this is a terrible room to record in.
Yeah, I know. We can't...
There's hard surfaces everywhere.
I know.
This is the worst choice.
But it's so much more comfortable than that couch setup. It's just, there's a lot of... We need to get the studio done downstairs.
Yeah.
So anyway, bear with us while we
guys.
work out our...
Don't unsubscribe because of the echoes.
That's right. Please don't. Please don't. Okay. Some people in the poll that I asked on Instagram were asking about the house. They want house updates. And talking about losing focus.
Oh, God. Yeah, the house. We're not as far along with the renovation as we were hoping to be, but I feel like that's everybody who takes on a renovation, including our last one that legit, it took us like 2 years to get to 80% and then 3 years to do the remainder of the 20%.
Mm-hmm. It's so
just
easy.
in time to move away.
Yeah, it's so easy to lose focus on the reno because it's not like a day's work. It's like a week's or a month's work for like one project.
Yeah, it's tough, and you know we're spread pretty thin from a time standpoint. Mm-hmm. So, but for us, you know, we're sort of tackling it instead of like our last renovation, ripping the entire house apart on day one, and then living in a construction zone for 6 months. We're doing this in sort of room by room. Mm-hmm. So we're able to live through the renovation this time and not, you know, want to
cry in a hole. Yeah, I think that's something we learned during the last one. Like in our first house, which that's how we started our internet content, was through a home renovation blog for our first house. And we were so excited about renovating ourselves that the first night we ripped out the kitchen, and then we ripped down walls, and we started ripping down ceilings, and suddenly the entire house was in shambles. And it took us 6 months to be able to walk through the house without like paper and plaster all over the floor. It was a mess. So this time we said, we're not going to do that anymore. It's too stressful. But yeah.
What's funny about us generating content for our blog, mm-hmm. One of the nurses at work, she said, I'm looking up dark living rooms, and I found one that looked nice. And I was like, ooh, this one's nice. And then looked at it, it says Rebecca Peckham and Chris Nicholas. And it went to it was your guy's photo. It was your names. She said, what are the odds of that happening?
Oh my God, that's so crazy. Funny. Yeah, that was so long ago.
Yeah, crazy.
So I think the other thing we learned from that renovation was that like we jumped in and tore everything out and finished like the kitchen in 6 months, and then, you know, put up tile, but we had no time to like really live in the space before we renovated it. So I think we did a pretty good job like figuring out what we needed. But with this house, it's bigger, it's different, and like we wanted to live in it first for a bit to see how we use the space, what we needed, what we didn't need, because there's like a lot of storage and weird stuff in this house that like Like there's 2 toilets in the master bathroom.
Which we thought was very odd at first.
It's incredible.
But it's actually kind of awesome.
We're going to get rid of one of them, but I kind of don't want to. Because it's actually like, I mean, we have no shame in our relationship, so who cares?
Yeah, but when we went in, we were like, oh, that's kind of weird. Like
But listen, like, wait.
They poop together?
Let me clarify. They're not like 2 toilets next to each other or 2 toilets facing each other.
Right.
They're both around corners, so like you can't see each other when you're
using the bathroom. Right.
Yeah.
You can hear each other, though.
Yeah. And if you have no shame, I mean, I did look at you poop on the rock that one time, so whatever. I mean, you've seen gross things with me too, so I mean, after 16 years, what do you expect?
Look, I told you not to look.
Listen.
We're out in the wilderness, had to poop on the rock, and you looked.
No regrets.
I have regrets.
I don't.
I should have found a more private rock.
I'm pooping.
That's exactly what I said.
I know, it was great. It was fantastic. Listen,
and then you were like, oh, I'm watching. You started vomiting. You started urging.
Listen, you don't spend 24 hours on a rock with somebody and not take the opportunity to look at them having a dump off the side of the rock. Okay? Listen, you're fucked up. Okay? We saw a lot of weird things on that trip, Chris. If I didn't see you poop once on the side of the rock, it would have been a bad trip.
Whatever you say.
No, yeah.
Anyway, back to the original question.
Yeah.
Update on the renovation. We're taking it piece by piece. I think our most recent project has been sort of the living room. Mm-hmm. That was a difficult one because we spent months even trying to figure out how we were going to reconfigure that room. The room is massive.
It's massive.
And it had tons of built-in cabinetry. And then on the corner, there was a built-in for a TV.
But the problem was that the built-in for the TV was built for like one of them tube TVs from like the 90s.
Cathode ray tube.
Thank you.
CRT display.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like
it's obsolete now.
It's obsolete. Nothing fits in that type
of
cabinet.
And it was just, it was very old school with the kind of corner, the way it kind of nipped off the corner. Mm-hmm. It was like a beveled cabinet, like 45 degrees.
I think I probably did like 25 sketches on how to rework that corner. And also thinking about like, how can we not have a lot of wastage? Like, how can we reuse some of this stuff? So like we were going to tear everything out and then we were going to like build this other thing. And then we were like considering putting the TV on a different wall. And then after literally months, when did we start it? 2 months, like in November, and we moved in here in April. It was like, many months later, we finally figured out. 7 months later. Yeah. We finally figured out what we were going to do. So we started working on that project, put up the wall.
Yeah. Got a new TV.
Too big.
It's not too big.
It's too big.
It's not too big. What is this?
It's massive.
75 inches?
That's a big ass TV.
Could have gone 83.
Ass TV.
Ass TV.
Everybody hates us.
Yeah.
We're the worst.
Yeah.
So we got
I think it's perfectly sized with the wall. Though.
It is. I
don't think it's too big. I think if we went 65, because you wanted to get one of those picture frame TVs that sort of blend in because you hate tech.
I don't hate tech.
You're a terrible person to be in the
You're
YouTube
the worst.
tech space
That's
if
not,
you hate tech.
No, I don't hate tech. That's a big ass lie, Chris. Ass lie. I wanted because of the way the room is configured, that's kind of like the one blank wall that you could put art. So I wanted a TV that looked like a picture frame so that when it wasn't playing Heart of Dixie, could show.
You're a terrible person.
It could show one of our photos.
The only reason that I watched that show with you is for my undying love for Rachel Bilson.
I know. It's a fantastic show.
She's the only person on my laminated list that I haven't met yet, by the way.
Shit.
We have to figure out how
Wait, you met Taylor Swift?
I met Lights.
Oh, Lights, right. You were in Lights' music video, fun fact.
True.
But back to the renovation.
Yes.
So I'll put like a couple of photos of like what that process is looking like in the show notes at beckyandchris.com/podcast. It will be linked in the description box. And yeah, we're not done it yet. We still have to do some cabinetry and we got some plans. You haven't seen it on our YouTube channel.
No. Are we saying why?
Are we saying why?
I don't know. Again, people listening to this podcast are probably only a small subset, a small fraction of the most dedicated people.
You're right. We are filming it. We'll just say that.
Okay, we'll leave it.
But you're probably not going to see it
for a while.
So we started the living room. Really want to we had to lay floor in the kitchen and get everything restained, and we got to hire somebody for that. Like I'm dying to get the kitchen done because photos. Okay. But we have both
Not so you can use a nice new kitchen.
Well, that too. But I love
the photos.
I love staging up a little moment. I was looking at our coffee station back at the old apartment, And I was like, damn, like I miss having a little something to like shoot or like look at. Like I get a lot of joy from placing things on a shelf.
Little vignettes.
Like, yeah, little vignettes. And so, yeah, I'm like kind of looking forward to having that. But out of all the rooms, I think the most important for us to get done first were like our workspaces so that we could do like this podcast and our YouTube channel and stuff. So this office that we're sitting in right now is done.
Yeah, and you put up a video already about that.
Yeah. And then the other room where we film our other videos is also like 90% done.
Yeah, I think you're still figuring out what's going to go where.
Yeah, I think originally that was supposed to be like our filming studio, but we're quickly outgrowing that space.
Yeah.
Now we're turning like the unfinished part of our basement into like a full studio.
Right. Yeah. So that's big.
Yeah.
And just for anybody who hasn't been up to speed on our house, because really we've only done 1 or 2 episodes that talk about it or show it. It's a sort of would you call it a split? Not a split level. It's
almost like a ranch, but
it's like
not
it's
a
like
ranch.
a bungalow.
It's a bungalow,
but as a walkout basement, and it's probably just under is it 4,000 square feet?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
it's way too big for us.
Well,
actually, it's not.
So
we've been using all of the spaces.
We have been, and it sounds massive, but the key here is that we don't really use the basement. The basement is comprised of a full bathroom and basically 2 guest rooms, and then some weird little sitting room, and then a big hallway.
Right.
So, and we literally just use that for guest rooms.
Well, that one of the reasons why we bought this specific house was for that second floor with the bedrooms, because we live away from family. We wanted to have like a space that family could come and stay and not feel like they're on top of you.
Right.
So like in a normal world, like we probably wouldn't have bought a house this big, but
No.
It's interesting because when we were buying houses, I was like, we're never going to, like, I don't want to buy a house where we're not going to use half the rooms. Like, we're never going to go in like this room. But we're actually, the way the house is laid out, like, we've actually been using it, besides the guest rooms until people come and stay with us,
Right.
We've been using every single room in this house.
Yeah.
Every room.
And I think a lot of that came from, having rooms that you're not using was more so in reference to having like a dedicated dining room,
Yeah.
a dedicated living room, a dedicated family room. It's like I grew up and we had all of those things, and we used the family room all the time, and the dining room and living room were just not used.
Yeah. It's funny how that works, isn't it?
It is.
And it's what's interesting too is that like this house was built in the late 90s. And there's no like dedicated living room, because I feel like at that time, like people were still building dedicated living rooms.
That was the transition, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. But yeah, it's cool. And so I think like maybe if we weren't working at home too, we definitely wouldn't use the space the way we use it now.
No.
But because we are,
I mean, half the spaces are YouTube spaces.
Oh, totally.
Or sets,
So yeah, so we basically have this like unfinished portion of the basement, and now that we've been living here and we haven't done like a lot of renovations, we're realizing like, hey, Chris needs a drone workshop, and we need like a podcasting
drone factory.
Yeah, we need like a proper podcasting studio with like sound panels and shit, so you're not getting this echo like this podcast today. And then like
mics that are always set up.
An unboxing station that's always set up, lights, camera, mounts,
so
like
you
everything.
have the space, why not use it?
Exactly, and everything is dedicated. And I feel like we're at the point now with the channel that there's value in creating that space for us and having it. It's like we know we're going to be making the videos. We've been doing it for 3 years.
Yeah.
And having the space, I guess it's like people sometimes are like, okay, now I'm going to buy a studio. Like the next upgrade from like working in your house is like getting a studio space.
Mm-hmm.
And it just so happens that we kind of have that in the basement.
Right.
Which is great.
Yeah.
You don't have to leave.
Yeah, and if the barrier to creating something is just because you don't want to set up mics and lights and things, then it's only going to help improve throughput.
Right. Exactly. So we're doing that now, kind of like setting up mics and lights and shit, but it would be nice because we're making content so often, and we record this podcast now, and then we have Wynn's Food, which is like another podcast.
That's one that Becky's part of with her buddies here in Buffalo.
That's right. Chris is not a part of that.
I'm not part of that.
It's very vulgar, but if you like to laugh and have a good sense of humor and are interested in food topics, maybe the podcast
it starts off as food and it just goes off the rails.
I mean, we always talk about pizza.
There you go.
At some point. But anyway, so we do have that podcast. So now we're starting to realize like, yeah, we need dedicated spaces that would just make the workflow easier now that I'm actually doing this full time. It's worth the effort to go down and plaster and paint the walls and seal the floor and, build basically 5 sets.
Yeah. And we're not going to finish it like a room.
No.
It's going to be finished for the purpose of making YouTube content with very multiple sets, 3 sets basically.
Yeah. It was interesting because I was talking to Johnny, actually, Harris, about this. They have a beautiful studio. And so I was like, kind of like, how do you, like talking to him, like sometimes it's just easier when you talk about your ideas with somebody, but how do you make a studio space and like get over the fact that it's not every single second and corner needs to be perfectly staged like a house. And he's like, you need to think about it as like, it's a functional studio. Your sets have to look good, but the rest has to function as a studio. Like you don't need to have a couch with like 2 chairs on the other side as you would have it in a living room, because you need to put a camera and lights there. So you have your chair, and then it might look empty when you're down there, but when you're filming, it looks right.
You're staging it for the video, and you're not imaging. You're not staging it for living in it.
Exactly. And I think this is the first time that I'm kind of like dabbling in this type of design. Like we've designed kind of like rooms and sets before, but they've all had to have like fully functioning. They had to be fully functioning rooms because they were rooms.
Because they were our house.
Exactly. Yeah. And they like doubled that. Like the office / guest bedroom in the apartment was like both. So they had to look nice.
Right.
In both scenarios. We're done. That's the update on the house.
That's the update on the house. Oh, okay. Only a couple of questions.
We're old now.
We are old. Yeah. So if anybody's coming here and saying, "Oh, these kids have a house," it's like we're old.
Or like, these kids don't know what they're talking about. Like, we have a lot to learn, but we've been through some life experiences where I feel like maybe our advice would be valid and helpful.
Maybe.
Maybe not.
Or maybe you're full of shit.
Oh, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I shouldn't put that in then.
No, I'm just kidding.
Can I make this an ASMR channel?
No ASMR channel, Chris.
ASMR.
No ASMR. Okay, we're gonna end this podcast. I think we should go make some food probably.
Okay.
Because it's late, and then we're gonna watch a show. What are we watching?
Netflix.
Well, close. You said the name of the show first by accident because you were going to say YouTube.
Oh my God, you're right. I mean, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, we're watching the show You on Netflix. So we're going to go have a date. We're going to watch that show. We're going to make some rice.
Oh, should we do a That's Deadly and say it's that show? All right. Well, that's it there. So thank you again for tuning in.
Can you hear that? The pool?
Yeah. Oh, by the way, this house has a pool in it. That was not something that was on our must-have list. In fact, it wasn't even on our list, period. It's just that this is the house we liked, and it just happened to have a lap pool in it, which sounds so bougie.
It does. So if you heard that kick in, that was like the
pool pump.
Yeah.
But it's actually kind of nice, and I feel sad because we've sort of neglected it, and then you're, being a germaphobe, are afraid to get into it now.
Well, I think you told me the guy has to come and get the filter cleaned every 3 months, and it's been like
every 6 months.
7.
He says it's good every 6 months.
Okay, that was in April. It's January. Okay. Well, anyway, we're old, so we got to go watch our show before it's bedtime because it's almost 7:00. So thank you for listening to this podcast. I hope you found it valuable. If you have any questions for us, hit us up on Twitter at Becki and Chris, and we'll catch you on the next one.